Warrington dominating. Great try for the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home. It's Vincent! It's a poor lad. That is one sensational try. 3 in a row, the Saints. The three-peat is achieved. An 8th grand final win for the Red Bee.
Well, good evening. You're very welcome to the Sportsman Rugby League for our weekly delve into all the big talking points. I'm joined this week by Warrington Wolves forward Kyle Amor and St Helens and England international Jodie Cunningham. Great to have you both with us. Loads to get through as always, so we'll start as we always do with the action from the Betfred Super League. And Kyle, I'll come to you first. Just Wigan 46, Hull KR 4. Perfect response from Wigan.
Yeah, it was as well. But there was a period in that game around about sort of the back end of the first half and the beginning of the second half where Wigan kind of got a bit, they were just overplaying, they were thinking they could score points for fun, and I think that's what you see in the pictures at half time with Matty Peake going mad on his troops. I think that was why they needed to be a bit more ruthless in that. But for Hull KR, they were shot to bits, weren't they? Already had a patched up squad anyways and lost a number of players in that game too, so it was difficult for them. They do get players back this week, they do get about 4 or 5 troops back in, so that'll be pleasing for Danny Maguire, but yeah, just a harsh lesson really going over to Wigan with a depleted squad. Tough ask anytime.
Toulouse 6, Hull FC 30. Jodie, from the outside looking in, this relegation battle's quite entertaining, isn't it? It keeps twisting and turning.
It is, yeah, and you know, I've got to say I'm getting behind Toulouse a little bit. I want to see them really fight now towards the back end of the season. They've got the talent there, and they're showing that they're really adding something to the Super League. I think there's some definite teams there who are worrying, but that result will obviously have come as welcome news to the likes of Warrington, who are down there and struggling, Wakefield as well. So yeah, really interesting result there.
Kyle, I didn't see this result coming at all. Cast 6, Wakefield 32.
No, I thought Wakefield were broken. You know, after that Jack Wellesby drop goal there and pushing the champions all the way. It's a difficult place to go as Wakefield, but pushing them right to the very end, golden point, and Jack Wellesby breaking the hearts. I thought it was going to be very, very difficult for Willie Polchin to pick up his troops and go over to Castleford, but as all derbies have shown in the past, form and everything goes right out the window, and you know, Wakefield, well, I don't think anybody's seen that result coming. You know, 32 points to 6 is a massive score away from home, and in a derby, well, you know, Lee Radford's men will be certainly wounded after that, I think. And
then Huddersfield 32, Warrington 22. You're obviously doing something right, Carl, because you are leading games. You've done this repeatedly.
Yeah.
What's going wrong in the last 10-15 minutes?
Well, we just can't defend, you know, and that's the bottom line of it. You know, another 30-plus scoreline put on us. You know, you're dead right, Lewis. We're getting to 60 or 70% of the game. We're in front and we're winning the game, and it's almost like we've just forgotten how to win, Jodie. Really, you know, the amount of times that we sort of crumble and capitulate at the back end of games is a concern, but. You know, it's been that way now. You know, I've been at the club 6 weeks now, and every result's been like that, and it is a concern. And I understand the worries and the concerns for Warrington fans being in and around that. You know, that relegation battle that you've both spoken about. You know, we're very much part of it now, and you know, we've got 6 or 7 games left to make sure that we do everything we can to get out of it. Which I still believe there's enough talent in there, and I still believe that the league table position is helping us in our favour given the fixtures that have coming up, but we can't rely on that. We've got to get a performance, and if we get 2 wins at the club there, then we're safe. But you know, it blows my mind to think that I'm even speaking about this at such a big and historic and massive club in Super League that is the Warrington Wolves being down there.
Yeah. Catalans 32, Leeds Rhinos 36. Resurgent Leeds Rhinos, they're flying at the moment. Jodie, is this kind of the perfect evidence for the power of confidence?
Yeah, it is, and you know, it's interesting listening to Kyle because momentum is such a powerful thing in sport. That's within a game, and I think that's something Warrington struggle with. When the momentum shifts, when they concede a couple of points, that's when the heads seem to go and they struggle to get back into that fight. Momentum's always a thing when it comes into the league as well. When you lose 2 or 3 games or you win 2 or 3 games, that confidence builds and then you start to really believe that you can do something. I think Leeds are riding that wave of confidence and they're looking really good, and I think particularly that win over Catalan, who at the start of the year looked really, really strong, definitely a great result for them away from home.
I just think the manner in which they won that game, they were down 30 points to 6, Jodie, at one point, to come back and drag it to Golden Point and then score a try. I think it was Aidan Caesar who got the try in Golden Point. Well, what a boost that is. You know, when 30 points to 6 down in Catalan and you manage to win that game in Golden, you know, what's that message that's going to send all of his players at Leeds Rhinos at the crucial part of the year. You know, the Rhinos in the past had a tremendous record of timing this run right, didn't they? And could they do it again?
In the interest of transparency, as a Salford fan, I'm going to try and not be too smug about this in front of two St Helens legends. But what a result that is. Salford 44, St Helens 12, Carl.
Huge. Again, you talk about that result at Wakefield. Well, nobody really seen this coming apart from Paul Rowley and his men, did they? You know, they've been fired up all week by some comments that John Wilkin made through a couple of weeks back over a Sky game at Castleford about them having no minerals. Well, 44-12 against the champions tells you everything that's where they are as a group. And I just thought the backfield were huge for them. I thought Tim Laffey looked like he looked like one of the best players in the world at the weekend there. You know, not too often you see a guy like put Connie Hurrell on his backside, and he done that a number of times as well. And I thought some of the tries that scored were outstanding, Jodie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that left edge for Salford has looked fantastic all year, and Burgess looking really quick. I mean, you've seen some of the metres that he's managed to cover, but the speed in which he does it as well. Some fantastic tries scored. And Saints, we talk about momentum, are probably struggling a little bit at the minute. They've had some really unfortunate injuries this season. Another really bad news for Saints in regards to Regan Grace, obviously, with that Achilles injury. That's not going to be what they want to see, and that will have been his last game for St Helens, obviously, with him moving on. Curtis Siranin, I think, not quite as bad as first thought, so I think he should be back fit for the weekend. But yeah, not what Saints want, and not the momentum they're looking for. Yeah,
Jodie, I think this is the most vulnerable I've seen Saints for a long time now, and that surely has to be a concern from the players in Christian Wolf going into this sort of this back end of the fixtures now. You know, that they had a nice buffer, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago at the top of the table, and the points difference was way in their favour. I think Wigan have closed that gap right up now. Those two, of course, have got to play towards the back end of the year as well. So I think there's a bit of concern over at St Helens at the moment.
But you both obviously know that club inside out.
Yeah.
Jodie, there won't be any panic, will there, at the moment?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any panic there. You know, there's reasons, I think, for why they are where they are, and Christian Wilkes took a lot of responsibility for the results recently. And you know, if anyone can turn it around, if anyone can galvanise the troops, even if they are down on numbers and a few injuries, I think Christian Wolf can do that. You know, they are a champion side. They know how to win no matter what, and they've proven that year on year. So no, I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think we will see them come good at the end of the year when it really matters. Yeah,
it's such an interesting time of the season. Eye-catching results every week. Just in those 6 there, there's some really interesting ones. All roads, of course, lead to Old Trafford and the grand final. And this week, Super League are taking us down memory lane and back to Bradford.
What words come to my mind about the 2005 season?
A roller coaster of emotions, good and bad.
Leon Price sent off.
It was an absolute roller coaster ride.
The Bulls have conceded 60 points for the first time ever.
Completion, bit of sadness.
Am I getting emotional thinking about it? It made me the person I am today.
Some people weren't going to get what they wanted at Bradford.
Adrian's come across, but somebody's going to have to miss out who's been playing all seasons.
It was quite awkward going into that team environment there.
I genuinely didn't think we was going to get beat. You know, I didn't feel like we could get beat.
Out of all the grand finals that have been so far, I think this one's probably got the best kind of fairy tale story behind it. Collection of people go through adversity, pull together as a group, then all go their separate ways, never to play with each other ever again. How you would write a film, basically.
Yeah, that's the latest edition of Super League Stories that will be available on the Super League YouTube channel in 4 parts starting tomorrow. Obviously, we've got Jodie in the studio with us, so let's talk about the women's game. And we'll start with your game at the weekend, a massive win against York.
Yeah, and a vital win for us, obviously to keep our hopes alive of retaining the treble. Obviously, Challenge Cup we managed to keep hold of. League leaders, you know, we've lost 2 games and York sitting sitting pretty at the top. It was really important that we got that win at the weekend, and it was a really gutsy performance. One of the most physical games we've probably been part of. There's lots of beaten, bruised up bodies, myself included, this week. But, you know, really, really impressed with the girls. We lost a couple of players early on, our fullback, Rebecca Rotherham and Carrie Roberts, two really key players for us. We lost them early on, and had to shift. We only had one outside back on the bench. So, yeah, a lot of shifting around, and forwards doing big minutes. So for us, yeah, it was more gutsy performance rather than a clean, polished one, but one we'll take lots of confidence out of.
Kyle, you've been involved in our coverage of the Betfred Women's Super League throughout this season, and at the beginning of the year we were all talking about Jodie's team dominating, but what we've been treated to is a really excited run-in for that league leadership.
And yeah, without doubt. And I think if you were to ask Jodie, you know, for the growth of the women's game, it's so important that these other sides start to threaten Saints, isn't it, really? And you know, I think that it'll be certainly that York and Saints game will probably, for me, be the grand final. I think both sides have got terrific players in form on both sides, on both teams. Sorry, you know, I'm a big fan of Tara Jane Stanley. I think she's been outstanding this year. Gracefield up front for York as well. But you know, this Saints side are just star-studded, aren't they? We speak about the usual suspects in Jodie and Amy and Carrie Roberts as well. And I just think that the more we can get girls across the country looking at different teams and finding different pathways to play at the very, very top, then you know it's going to be brilliant. And I think so far this Super League season for the women's has been the most exciting yet, for sure.
And of course, it's all building into a World Cup. Jodie, you've been heavily involved in the promotional side of things, in the off-field side of things, but as a player, it's serious business now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think you always try and focus on, you know, the league and the games that you've got in hand, but I think it's hard to not have one eye on the end of the year and how big of an opportunity that is for all of us as players and just for the game, the women's game in general. The eyes that are going to be on that tournament will be like nothing before. So yeah, for us, we're trying to make sure we're performing as Saints, but we're also knowing that we're trying to put our name on a shirt for that World Cup as well. And you know, Craig Richards, Derek Hardman, and everyone is at the games, they're watching, they're seeing the likes of Tara Jane Stanley, likes of Grace, who are really performing. And for us, that's what we're trying to do, make sure that our names are up there and in contention when it comes to the end of the year. And
women's sport in general has received such a massive boost this weekend, and over the last 6 weeks in general, with the success of the Lionesses, you guys must have been watching that and just so excited about what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely. All the girls, you know, we had a game and we caught the first half in the clubhouse after our game, and then all came and watched it together, you know, and it was brilliant that another sport galvanised us so much and got us so excited about the opportunities that we might have off the back of it. And not just that, my friends that don't play sport, that aren't into rugby league, aren't into football, who were messaging me about how important that win was, how emotional they felt after the Lionesses managed to lift that trophy. And for me, that's what these big events do. That's what a World Cup does. It gets people involved and engaged in the sport that otherwise wouldn't be. So yeah, for me, that just shows how important it can be to have a nation really performing well, particularly in a competition that's on home soil. So hopefully we can replicate that at the end of the year.
And just on that, like my daughter who's 13, because of these girls, what they've been doing at St Helens, then you know the school rugby team, which they've always had, has become even more popular. My daughter's down at Thatterweath now, although she's not playing, she keeps jumping in and out of it. But I've no doubt that if it wasn't for Jodie and the rest of the Saints side, then you go up there now, Jodie, and you'll know yourself. At under 14 level, there's about 40 girls playing across 13s and 14s, and largely that's down to them. And you go to the football. Well, I've tried to get my daughter to watch a football match with me and my boy for years, and didn't want any part of it. Well, she was there in an England shirt watching the women on Sunday lift that European, you know, cup. So it's fantastic, and the more that these girls and the more that they can get exposure to it, you know, across, you know, this World Cup's going to be great. In the 64 games that are going to be shown, plus many more, you know, it's fantastic, and the more eyes we can get on it, the better.
And watching the way that the whole country's embraced that Lionesses side and the furore and the excitement about it, it just reaffirms the potential, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been banging that drum for years about how important the women's game can be for the growth of rugby league as a whole. It's not just about who comes and supports the women's game. It's about rugby league in general and how excited people can be, how it can bring new people into the sport that haven't been already. And that's not just fans and spectators and the young girls that will take part. It's around commercial sponsorship and the businesses who are going to be involved and wanting to be part of it because of the women's game as well. So yeah, for me, I think what the Lionesses have done is not just great for women's football, it's great for women's sport, and hopefully everyone can start to see the potential that women's rugby league's having, because I know more and more people are talking to me about the women's game and how brilliant it is, rather than me having to sort of initiate those conversations. So yeah, it's really exciting, and hopefully we can follow suit.
And you're at the kind of forefront of it all on the pitch, obviously, but your 9 to 5 is the Women's and Girls Development Manager for the RFL. One of the issues that keeps kind of being levelled and brought up by certain people is that there's a kind of bottlenecking of talent almost in Super League across 2 or 3 clubs, and there's some one-sided scorelines. But I don't think anyone expected it to kind of be an overnight change just because we've restructured the Super League. How are we tackling those issues?
Yeah, and it's not something that's come out of nowhere. We 100% knew there would be a period of time that would be a little bit sticky, and we would have those one-sided scorelines because of where we want the game to get to. The Women's Super League has done amazing things for the women's game. The number of fans, the number of young girls who are wanting to get part of it, because we're now affiliated to big clubs with a fantastic history and brand that people want to be part of. Obviously, the players aren't yet paid, so there is naturally going to be players who go to clubs where they're going to get the most support, where the facilities are brilliant, where there are the potential to play in finals and do brilliant things. So we have seen that, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. It happens across all women's sport. In this sort of growth period, you do see the one-sided games, but what we are seeing is those teams that are on the wrong end of the scoreline are improving week on week, year on year. And last year, everyone's talking about St Helens, and now no one could get near us, and now we're talking about a 3-way battle for that league leaders shield. So already in 1 year we've seen that progress, and it'll get there. It's just there is going to always be this teething period, and we're working really hard to make sure that we get to the point we want to, and hopefully some sort of semi-professional structure in years to come.
And the coverage as well, Kyle, has improved dramatically. We're very proud here on the Sportsman to work alongside BBC and Sky Sports, the work that they've done covering this competition and the Women's Challenge Cup as well. Yeah. But it is just that thing, isn't it, of putting it out there for people to see and know that they can get involved with it.
100%, yeah. And just something there that Jodie mentioned there about these girls, how they don't get paid, and I think it's very important. And whenever I've done any women's game, I've tried to at certain points stress this across, that let's not judge this as if it's the men's game. Do you know what I mean? I think it's important to recognise that if you'd have took Super League to when it very first started, or sort of Rugby League when it very first started, when it was an amateur game, it's a totally different product, isn't it? And I think it's important for these, for fans to recognise that yes, because they're on Sky, there's almost an opinion for these girls to be shot at in many ways, and I don't think that's right. I think you have to look at it with a different in a different perspective and see that this is an early day sport where the growth so far has been incredible, and it'll continue to rise as well. But until these girls get a wage, get access to full-time conditioning, full-time diet, full-time weights or again conditioning if you like, then only then will you start to see more and more progressions in there. But for right now, let's just celebrate where it is, where it's going to, and how much progress it's been made, and how much social impact that it's having in communities as well. I think that's important not to gloss over that.
Yeah, and great news as well. Sky Sports will be showing the semi-finals and the final, furthering their commitment to the women's games. We'll be confirming our coverage of the run-in to the League Leaders Shield race as well, right here on the Sportsman, your home of Rugby League Online.
Don't miss a thing from the new home of Rugby League Online.
Follow the Sportsman on social media
and follow their YouTube channel for exclusive content.
Yeah, keep your eyes out across this show, thesportsman.com, on our social media for announcements very soon about our coverage for the remainder of the season. Kyle, we were both in Leeds at the weekend for the Betfred Championship Summer Bash. Loads of really entertaining games and big talking points, but the real statement was made by Lee.
Yeah, no, they look like they're almost guaranteed for promotion. However, what I will say is Brian McDermott's, he's had a well-known history of getting sides up for big games when it matters the most. So I think there'll still be a little bit of a concern for Adrian Lamb. Of course, he'll celebrate that victory. It was a huge victory, wasn't it? But they'll meet later on again. I've no doubt about that, and that's the one that matters most, isn't it? So I know Featherstone got the jump on them earlier on in the year, but then since then it's been Lee as well. And you just look at the amount of signings and quality players that they've been bringing in, Lee. I just think that for me, where the difference between the two sides is Lee have gone for a pretty powerful, young and mobile pack, whereas Featherstone have signed the traditional sort of lads coming out of Super League, almost getting to the last sort of level or two at club level, and I think Lee have just got it right. I think if the two clubs if any of them were to go up into Super League, I think Lee would survive more than Featherstone in that. So but take nothing away from the win, brilliant.
Yeah, they look very, very good on Saturday night, and I caught up with their head coach, Adrian Lamb, after that game. Adrian, that was probably as good as you could have hoped for tonight.
Yeah, I thought just the win is a great result for us, but I thought, against the wall at some time there, because we lost the starting front rower early on in the game and it had to manipulate the bench to suit. But I just thought that through some really important moments there, we hung in there and it worked our way through. So I thought we were courageous in those parts.
You must have been impressed with the performance across the board. The line speed was good. You looked really dangerous on the edges. Your halves were linking up really well. It must be nice to see stuff that you've obviously spoken about in training coming to fruition.
Yeah, I thought, we were, as I said, I thought our defence was majority pretty good. I still think we could get better probably with, I thought their points come off the back of our errors. We kick out in the fall, a penalty, 6 again for a try. Those sort of little things there annoyed me a little bit, but, that's just being a bit pedant as I am. And, there's some room for improvement there, but overall I felt that, we were connected as a group. There were some tough periods there where we were certainly in that first 20 minutes we were under the cush, so I'm really proud of the boys.
And obviously a flashpoint, both teams receiving a red card, but you seemed to control the game really well after that point. You must have been pleased with how you dealt with that mentally.
Yeah, disappointed really that the player got the red card. It's not what we've been about this year, so that certainly put both teams under pressure there, but it opened up the game a little bit, I think, and hence the bigger scoreline. So, that we'll manage that process, but I just felt, like I said, the team were connected as a group in everything that we did.
And just lastly, it must have been a proud dad moment for you when Lachlan got on and then got over under the sticks as well.
Yeah, really, really proud. It was always going to be difficult for him after landing, 4 or 5 days later to play in this game, and contemplated not playing him this week and starting him next week, but this was the right thing, I think, and I'm really pleased and proud of him for the try that he scored on debut.
Yeah, brilliant performance from Adrian Lamb and his Lee Centurion side, and as he just said there, a proud moment for him watching Lachlan Lamb score a try on his debut. They're looking pretty hot to be in the Super League next year, but let's have a look at the immediate action in the Betfred Super League this week. This one's quite Toulouse away from home, bit 50-50, Carl, but against Hull KR, who, as we've said, are up on bricks a little bit, a few bodies coming back, but still struggling, they'll sense blow.
Yeah, but what a huge game this is for both sides, really. For Hull KR, if they win that game, it almost guarantees them that they're safe. Do you know what I mean? It pretty much does mathematically guarantee that. And for Toulouse, they have to win in order for the other end, don't they? And if they do win, well, my word, it puts us at Warrington and Wakefield. We start to come a bit shaky then, don't we? So I'll certainly be cheering for the Robins on that one.
At Huddersfield, LFC, Jodie, Huddersfield, obviously the form team coming into this, but you just never quite know what you're going to get from LFC, do you?
No, you don't. It's with Hull FC, like I say, it's complete unpredictability, and they can give you some of the best rugby league you've ever seen and then give you some of the worst. So really interesting one. Huddersfield on the opposing side, I think, been really consistent. Probably going under the radar a little bit. We're talking a lot about Wigan, talking a lot about St Helens, but Huddersfield is sort of going about the business a little bit quieter, and for me, are very much the on-form team this season, and I can only see a Huddersfield win there.
Kyle, last week on this show, I said that for Wakefield, Castleford was a perfect place to go and find some confidence and some form. I'm going to level the same thing for you guys against Wigan.
Yeah. I think it's a free hit for us, really, isn't it? I think everybody on the outside is enjoying what Warrington are going through at the moment, and rightly so. I think if I wasn't affiliated with the club, I would certainly be, wanting one of the top clubs in a struggle down the bottom. I do think it's important for the game. I think it's important for the competition in the game that Warrington can do everything they can to stay up. I don't think losing a massive club like Warrington and replacing it with one of those clubs that we mentioned earlier, I think that would. I think the competition needs a strong Warrington, if I'm honest. But anyways, forget that. We are where we are, and to go back to your question, I think going to Wigan is a free shot for us. I don't think anyone's given us a cat and hell's chance, if I'm honest. And we've got to go with a mindset that just go over there, fire some bullets, and throw everything at them really, and see what can happen. Because I've sat here for a couple of weeks now when I've been on this show and said that we are working hard with this, with that. But the reality of the situation is we're running out of time, and we just need some action now. And while we get it for parts, we need an 80-minute performance.
Jodie, big day for the St Helens club Sunday. You guys obviously in action against Leeds in that huge game, and then the men's side on Channel 4, an opportunity to put things right against Castleford.
Yeah, it is, and I think they'll definitely be looking to turn things around. Like I say, Curtis Sirinen, not quite as bad as we think, so hopefully he can feature at the weekend. Tommy Makington back fit, so I think getting some of those troops back will be really important for them. Christian Wolf will definitely galvanise the team, and Castleford, another team which can be a little bit unpredictable, but I'm hoping the lads can turn up and put things right at the weekend.
Well, Christian Wolf's already said that he's came out and done a little press release this week that he is going to get a reaction from his men. He's put that statement down to him, and I know from being under him that when he's in that sort of mood, he generally means it. So, but look, Castleford are chasing a playoff place here. We can't just assume that Saints are, mentioned about their vulnerability. Well, if they go on and lose this one, then what does that do for the rest of St Helens' season in confidence? I don't think it'll define it, but it makes it interesting, and it's on Channel 4 as well. So it'll be a great game for sure. I think two sides off the back of heavy losses going at it. It'll be great.
What will Christian be like this week? Will he be tearing the paint off the walls, or would it be a lot of kind of steady, deft stares, making sure people know?
Well, look, that's the biggest loss that Saints has had for something like 6 years, isn't it? So he won't want that attached to his name for sure. And I know that club, when you lose a game, it's pretty full on and intense, and as it should be. You are the champions. But very rarely do championship sides lose 2 games in a row. It just doesn't really happen. If you look throughout the history of I think Saints did it in 2020, but obviously that was the COVID year and things were perhaps a little bit different. But very rarely do they lose 2 in a row. So certainly can't make it 3 in a row. It's an interesting time, but it'll be very intense there. There'll be a lot of serious one-on-one conversations, blokes being pulled in, and I know it'll be a very intense atmosphere this week at training for sure.
Leeds versus Salford, Jodie, probably the 2 form teams in the competition. That's got the potential to be a really entertaining afternoon.
Yeah, 2 sides coming off the back of good wins and confidence really. Obviously Leeds being able to turn that game around, Salford putting that number of points across St Helens, the sort of top of the table there. They'll both have lots of confidence, so I think for me that's one of the games of the weekend. It'll be really interesting to see who comes out on top there. If Salford can continue in the form that they are showing, then they're definitely a team to not pay attention to.
It's massive that though, isn't it? Because if the Rhinos can beat Salford, they almost leapfrog them, if I think I'm right, and they crack into the playoffs for the first time this year. So they were back at home after a number of weeks away and demolished Wigan, didn't they? Another 40-point score there. Well, they get to back it up now. They've gone a massive score against Wigan, a massive score against Catalan over there, and then now a chance to leapfrog, a playoff rival, and get themselves in that for the first time this year, if I'm led to believe. So, a huge day ahead in League potentially as well, and then added to the fact that the women's game on before it. So, it might be a big atmosphere there.
And the Wakefield Catalans, Carl, is an interesting one. Wakefield will be full of confidence after last week. Yeah. It's always a difficult place to go. Catalans struggling a little bit with their own injuries, but they'll know that they need to bounce back. Yeah, definitely. There's... Again, if Catalan were to lose this and Salford were to win theirs, then I think Salford would start to close that gap on that crucial 4th place for the playoff home semi as well. So, Wakefield, they'll be desperate again. Can they back it up 2 big performances in a row? I'm not so sure. The amount of emotion and joy that would have took out, and shock as well, probably getting that result. There will be some of the players in there that shocked. I'm not having it that everybody believed that scoreline was coming for them. But for Catalan, I just think with Catalan, they've shown this year how difficult it is to back up a good season after another. Now, I know Saints have done it 3 years in a row, but it very rarely happens where a side have a period of dominance for so long, because it takes so much
out of you mentally, physically, and out of your squad depth as well. And we're seeing the injuries here to Catalan. You know, they are struggling, but I don't think they've been great all year. I think they started the year great, and they looked like they were going to be straight back up there. But as the year's progressed, their form's been up and down and all over the place, hasn't it? So, but crucially, this part of the year, it's about just picking up as many couple of wins as you can and timing it right come the playoffs, isn't it, really? So, yeah, it's very difficult to call that one, but I'm going to take Wakefield with that, I think.
It's a fascinating time of the season. There's just huge games now every week, isn't there, in the lead up to the playoffs. We're running out of time really quickly. You've both got massive games at the weekend, so best of luck in those. Thank you for joining us on the show. We'll be back next week with more from The Last Tackle as always, and we're going to leave you this week with the contenders for Try of the Week.
Welcome to Try of the Week. I'm Ross Fiddies, and here are this week's contenders. To the summer bash for try number 1, Halifax are on the last tackle. Woodburn Hall back to Zach McComb, looking for space and he dinks it through. It's a nice little kick and McComb's on the chase. It bounces well and he touches down for Halifax. Try number 2 and summer bash game 2, it's Batley on the last tackle with a high kick from Gilmore. The pressure's on for Turner from Dewsbury, but Luke Hooley, the try scoring machine, he snatches it and he crosses the whitewash for Batley Bulldogs. More summer bash for try number 3, Lee dominating the curtain closer on day 1. Caleb Aitkins spins off the defence and charges down the field of play. He's got Lachlan Lamb in support, and it's Lachlan Lamb on his debut here who crashes over behind the sticks. Try number 4 and it's the Cumbrian derby. Ryan King with the ball, it's a strong carry and a lovely offload. Williams to Graham now, to Bullman on the edge. He's just been over for one and he's charging down the line here. Oscar Thomas on the chase, but what a try and what a finish for Bullman. To the Women's Super League for try number 5, it's Featherstone Rovers on the attack here, but look at this interception from Vanessa Temple from Barrow. The Featherstone defence are closing in, but Temple gets away. She gets over the whitewash, touches down, and look at that celebration. And finally, try number 6, Salford versus Saints in the Super League. Ken Seo collects from the kick and passes to Sargentson, who drives it forward with some skillful footwork. He's looking for a gap, but gets it out to Laffey. Laffey with the ball now, who finds a gap and breaks through the middle. They're on a roll now of the Red Devils, and it's a risky pass to Brodie Croft, who collects well. Roby and Welsby both on the chase, and it's a missed tackle from Welsby. Brodie Croft runs it in, and it's a length of the field effort from Salford Red Devils. 6 tries, but only 1 winner. Head to the R League app now to vote for your favourite.